In 1954, something strange happened at an airport in Japan. A mysterious foreign man arrived at the airport. Just like any other traveler, he had a passport, travel documents, and everything seemed normal. But when the immigration officers checked his passport, they were shocked because his passport said that he was from a country called Taured. The officers had never heard of such a country. They checked the maps. They checked the list of countries, but there was one big problem. Taured did not exist. The officers asked him, "Where are you from?" The man confidently replied, "I am from Taured." They asked him again, "Where is Taured?" The man then pointed to a location on the map, somewhere around the area where Andorra is located today. But according to him, that place was not Andorra, it was Taured. He insisted that Taured was a real country, and that he was a citizen of that country. He also claimed that he had come to Japan for business. And the strangest part was, according to the story, he had other documents with him too, including bank documents and travel papers. Everything looked real, except for one thing: his country did not exist. The immigration officers became suspicious. Who was this man? Where did his passport come from? And why was he so certain that Taured was a real country? The officers decided to investigate him further. According to the famous story, the man was taken to a secure hotel room for questioning. The room was being watched. The doors were secured, and the officers planned to question him again the next morning. But when they returned the next morning, something unbelievable had happened. The man was gone. He had disappeared. The room was secure. The doors were locked, and according to the story, there was no obvious way for him to escape. But the mysterious man was nowhere to be found. And this is where the legend becomes even more mysterious, because people began asking, what if he was not from our world? Some people believe that the man may have come from a parallel universe, a universe where a country called Taured actually existed. Imagine that, in another universe. Taured could be a real country. The history of that world could be completely different from ours. Maybe the place we know as Andorra was actually Taured in his world, and somehow, this man crossed from his universe into ours. When he arrived in Japan, everything seemed normal to him. He had his passport. He knew his country existed. He knew where it was located. But when the Japanese officers checked their maps, they found nothing. Because in our world, Taured never existed. And then, after being placed inside a secure room, maybe something happened. Maybe a portal opened. Maybe he somehow returned to his own universe. And that is why he disappeared. Sounds like a science fiction movie, right? But there is one very important problem. There is no scientific evidence that this actually happened. The story of the man from Taured has been repeated for decades, but many of the dramatic details are difficult to verify. There is also a real person named John Allen K. Zegras, whose case is sometimes connected to this legend. He was involved in a passport-related case in Japan, and his passport reportedly used the name of a fictional country. Because of this, some researchers believe that a real passport fraud case may have been exaggerated over time and eventually turned into the famous story of the man from Taured. So, was the mysterious man really from another universe? Probably not. At least, we have no reliable evidence proving that he was, but that does not make the story any less fascinating. Because think about it, a man arrives in Japan. He has a passport from a country that does not exist. He points to a place on the map and says, "That is my country." Then, after being placed under security, he supposedly disappears. It is exactly the kind of mystery that makes people wonder. What if parallel universes are real? What if somewhere out there, another version of our world exists? A world where history took a different path, a world where countries have different names, and maybe a country called Taured really does exist. Of course, this is only a theory. There is no confirmed evidence that the mysterious man came from another dimension or another universe. The most likely explanation is that the story was based on a real passport-related incident, and later became more mysterious as people continued to retell it. But the mystery still remains. Who was the man? Why did he claim to be from Taured? And how did the story of his disappearance become so famous? Maybe he was simply a clever fraudster. Maybe the story was heavily exaggerated. Or maybe, just maybe, there is something about this case that we still don't understand. What do you think? Was the man from Taured simply a fake passport case? Or could he really have come from another universe? Let me know your theory in the comments. And if you enjoy mysterious, unexplained, and creepy stories like this, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell, because sometimes the scariest thing in the world is not a ghost, but a question that has no answer.